Okay. We should be ready now to put this together. So y'all can kind of see how this goes together. Just one more minute. I was missing one vital piece of equipment, my knife. So, the first thing, I've got it on the plastic, on the board, and got to prep our edges. So we can get ready to connect our walls. So I'm scoring the edges. Make sure you get your corners. Then we're going to add our slip to our edges. And this, I just mix this from dried clay pieces of the same clay I'm working with, the speckled turtle, and some water till I get it the consistency I want. And that's my glue that holds it all together. So I'm going to go around the whole thing with the glue. And then that'll get it good and damp and some slip on it. Because unfortunately, when you let it set up like this, it's not a little dry, but to me it makes it easier to work with because it's firmer, but you would like it to be a little wetter in places so it would adhere to itself better, or adhere together. So I'm going to let this sit on here for a little bit while I get the sides ready. And the sides will do the same way. You can see them. I'll turn the camera a little bit so maybe you can see the sides some. And I'm going to smooth these back out where they've been laying on this plywood, because it kind of leaves some little rough in here, especially where I rolled the texture in. Tended to pick up some of the plywood texture. So we would need to get this off and smooth it down. As you can see, these are pretty stiff now. They're just right for assembling, to assemble it together. Okay. So now we're going to score on our bottom edge where we're going to attach. Slip and score. Very, very important step. Okay, we'll get all this on here and then we'll get ready to attach them. Get our baking dish looking more like a baking dish. slipped up. Let me turn the camera back a little bit this way. You can see what I'm doing. We'll get the first wall. Get it in position. Okay. And press it down. Get it where I want it to be. It's kind of wanting to slide around with that plastic, but I really need that plastic under there because it's going to help me in the long run. Because when I flip this over to do my bottom, if I don't have that plastic on there, that slip will have this stuck to the board. Press the sides in and attach your walls. Make sure they're firmly attached. Now we're going to add a coil soon, so I put a coil on all my bakeware to strengthen it. Okay. It's hard for me to see without getting in front of the camera. Make sure you get it down beside and don't let it get on top like I did just then. Okay, see now everything is measured out where I want it to be. And I have these outside walls attached. All right. Now, we're going to do a little trimming of our joints, and we're going to cut at a diagonal where they're easy to put together. Just pick a spot that you want, kind of close to the center. Turn your knife or whatever you're using at an angle. I just use a regular kitchen knife. I don't have a fetting knife. One of these days, maybe I'll get me one. I keep saying I'm going to buy one, and I never seem to get around to it. If you're not cut, because I'm not cut off enough, I'll go in here and trim off a little more till everything matches like it's supposed to. Then I'll pull this back and go ahead and score it. And slip it. And we will get it together. And you just have to work at this joint to get it where you can't see it. I know sometimes that can be kind of difficult. But that's just what you do, is you just have to keep working it. Like on the inside here. You can use your rib tool or you can use your finger. I use both. I like to try to get it smooth. Some people like to see their joins. It's great either way you like it. I prefer mine to be smooth. And just make sure everything is pushed together and that it's not distorted. I'll take a sponge and smooth this. One thing with this clay has a grog in it, so you can't be smoothing with water very much because the grog will come to the surface and then you'll have some sandy looking, or really sand come up, or grog. But you can wipe it some with your sponge. I usually will at least make a couple of good rounds with it. Now we're going to do the other end the same way. So be sure when you're cutting down that you're watching what you're doing. You don't go all the way down and cut through the bottom of your baking dish. Make sure you pull back before you get that knife all the way to the bottom. That's pretty good. Now we're gonna go ahead and slip and score this in. Doesn't take long for it to adhere together pretty good. Okay. I'll push this back up on the board a little bit. Just keep going over your join there till it will disappear. If you have where you don't have too much clay in your join, if you have too much clay in it, then you'll end up with a knot there. I've learned that over the years. It will distort your piece and it will make an unsightly knot. So try to only have just enough clay to join that piece comfortably without distorting it. When you have too much clay there, you will not have a smooth joint. See, that joint's pretty smooth. Smooth on the outside, smooth on the inside. Now, I need to go ahead. We could do our handles if I wanted to. That's usually the last thing I put on is a handle. Right now, I need to go ahead and do the small coil that I'm going to do for the inside. So I will get me some clay. And we will roll us a small coil. Some people are lucky enough to have extruders to do their little coil work with. I'm not one of those people, so I don't have an extruder. That's on my list. One day I may get one. But right now, I like just to roll out a little coil and get it. Doesn't have to be real even because you're going to be pushing your clay into your little joint there. But I like them to be kind of close to the same circumference there. Okay. Let me turn the camera back around so you can see what I'm doing. I'll start from this end where you can see me go back around. And what I'm doing is I'll just push the coil down into the seam. Okay? And I'll go around with my thumb and my finger and I'll just keep pushing it. And it doesn't matter if it breaks or if I have to roll out a little more. It doesn't matter. Just while this clay is soft like it is, just smooth it down with your finger and push it into the seam. And this will make your joint strong. And for bakeware, that's essential because it's going to be heating up and cooling down. You're going to have things in it that waste, you know. Won't be a lot of weight, but it'll be used, and so it needs to have a little strength to it. And most of this is just feeling your way, feeling your clay. Don't get in a hurry. It's gonna be kind of hard for me to do this left-handed where y'all can see, but I just made a boo-boo, but I fixed it. And just push it in your joint. And we will get this all the way around. As you can tell, I'm not left-handed. Once we get this done, we'll be able to turn it over and look at our bottom to see how it looks. And make sure you have enough. I had almost enough to go all the way around with that little coil. So see, it doesn't really take that much clay. We just need a little bit more. And we'll have our join done. Have our little coil in there. Our pot will be pretty strong then. I'm just going to take and smooth it a little bit with my sponge and my finger. And then it'll be good. And you can always work with it some more and smooth it out. I like mine smooth, so the first thing in the morning when I uncover it, I'll come out here and work with smoothing it a little more. And I will do that periodically till it's dry. I check mine pottery that I hand build 2 or 3 times a day to see if there's anything I need to smooth out or do to it, to make sure everything's drying like it's supposed to. That my sides are all straight. That's that. Okay, now I'm going to get another little board and I'm going to flip it over onto it so I can see the bottom. You ready to flip? 1, 2, 3. Now it's over. And I can look at the bottom because I put this piece of plastic on here. So now we need to fix all this. This is very important that we get our bottom smooth too. And our join lined up here. Because if it's not, you're going to have a crack when your pot dries. So we'll go ahead and start with this. And I do it with my rib and also with my fingers. Getting this bottom part around the edge nice and sealed and smooth. Had this corner a little bit off, I think, when I put it on there, but I think we can fix it overall and make a smooth bottom out of it. Well, hand building, as you know, if you hand build, is not an exact science by any means. No matter how hard you try, sometimes clay just wants to be clay. I don't know how else to say that. It kind of has a mind of its own. But you just smooth your bottom. And I will go over this again tomorrow after my clay has set up a little more and make sure I don't have any problems with this bottom, because that's the last thing you want, is to make a beautiful baking dish and have a crack in the bottom after you've worked so hard on it, because it can happen. You just have to make sure all your joints are sealed. And if that means going over them several times, then that's just what you have to do, because you don't want to crack by any means. That looks pretty good for right now. And I'm going to turn it back over. I'm going to use that plastic again because it's kind of damp and I don't want it to stick to the board. But tomorrow I'll be able to take that plastic out and we won't worry about the plastic tomorrow. But today I'm going to put the plastic back on here just like that. Get the air out of it. And then I'm going to put it back on this board that I was originally on. We'll flip it back over there. Just like that. Right over. And it all looks good. Now all we're going to do now is slip and score and attach our handles. And like they say, that'll be a done deal. You can shape your handles like you want, measure, see how you want them. I just kind of do mine, and look, I want them both bent the same. So I'll kind of just put them together. So, and try to make sure they have the same degree of bend on them, like this. Smooth this bottom under here just a little bit. It had a little bit of plywood to it. And around the edges, you might want to go ahead and smooth this around with your thumb to make a nice smooth edge for your handle, top and bottom. So when you attach it, it'll be pretty, and you can just pretty well let it dry and not have to mess with it too much. And let's do this other one the same way. We're gonna go ahead and put some, score it and put some slip on it. And then I'm gonna mark where it's gonna go before I score my baking dish. So let me turn this where you can see it. And I will position this about where I want it. And I will press it in. So I'm marking it. Then I will score this. Re-slip it. And then I will put my handle on. Make sure it's the shape you want, like you want. Wipe your excess slip off and you're done. Just that easy. There's your handle. Isn't that pretty? Alright, for the second one, I want it to be in the exact same center, the exact same place. So I'm going to lay my ruler across there, and I'm just going to put a little fine tick right there. I know that's where I want it to be. So I will center up my handle that way. I'll go ahead and score this one. Put some slip on it where I can mark it. See that I've got it centered like I want it, where it matches my other one. And I will just leave it, make a mark with the slip. I'll go ahead and score it. I'll rub that little mark out. I don't need that anymore. Some slip on here. And attach this handle. Make sure you got them about the same height. I like mine just a little under the edge, so if I need to turn, when I turn it over, I won't be bumping my handle and knocking it out of place. So okay, those look pretty good and straight. Alright, folks, what do y'all think? That's your baking dish. What you think? Does it look good? I think it looks great. Thank y'all, and join me in the next video. I think I'm going to make a lidded casserole. If everything works out right. Bye from Texas.